think I was about 8. My stepdad said to us once that he would bang our heads together and we'd wake up in hospital and not remember.
It was okay for the first few weeks, but then he had like really strange fetishes and was enjoying abuse.
In my culture, so in Russia, you don't have such a thing as domestic abuse, nor if there is a domestic abuse, if the person didn't die, it's not been overlooked by the police. So I think I didn't realize it at the beginning of our relationship, but I think the more I got introduced to more open culture of UK, the awareness of firstly being individual, having your own rights for your own body and the life.
My stepdad, I would say, he was abusive. From the age of about 7, he was in my life. Not so much physically, but emotionally and verbally towards me and my mum and my little sister. I've had similar things with exes.
In my culture, so in Russia, you don't have such a thing as domestic abuse, nor if there is a domestic abuse, if the person didn't die, it's not been overlooked by the police.
I was very angry at my mum. Due to like drug and alcohol issues, I started living with my grandparents. I was quite angry at her for choosing, drugs and alcohol over her children.
So my stepdad used to kind of treat me and my stepsister like we were slaves in the house. Said to us once that he would bang our heads together and we'd wake up in hospital and not remember, and I think I was about 8.
When I was 18, I got married. So we came together here, and a person started being very abusive in relationship, mentally and sexually wise. But I think it's what changed is that before is I'm a property of the parents, now I'm a property of the husband. So he had a full right for doing what he was doing, basically.
I met this man in a coffee shop. We connected. It was okay for the first few weeks, but then he had like really strange fetishes and was enjoying abuse and hitting people. Like that was what he was into. One day we went to a hotel and we had sex, and I asked him to stop because I was uncomfortable, and he hit me and he told me no, and he had like a daddy kink. So he told me, don't say no to daddy, and like he hit me like quite a few times.
So I think I didn't realize it at the beginning of our relationship because it started slowly by slowly, argument by argument, weird red flags as we call them.
I started going to counselling when I was about 13, 14. And a lot of the stuff that I spoke about was about my stepdad, and I think then was when I started to realise that the way that I was feeling with my depression and anxiety, and the way he was to my mum, who I loved so much and I just couldn't stand it, and my little sister and myself.
He was using a bit of a power on me, and I didn't want to sleep with him in the same bed, and person just dragged me back into his bed and he had sex with me against my will.
Another incident that happened, I can't remember what initiated it, but he picked me up and he hit me and he made me count out loud how many times he was hitting me.
I've always been taught very internalised misogynistic ways by my mum. It feels very strange knowing that the man who is basically my dad, who has raised me since I was a child, has sexualised me my whole life.
He wanted me to start acting younger than I was, so I was 17 at this time, and he asked me to wear nappies, and he asked me to act almost like a baby. We didn't have any safe words.
And it's all started being questions. You don't clean enough, we don't have sex enough. Then the person started checking me on my phone without my consent, which I asked person to stop, but he wouldn't, and he would all the time call me out of nowhere. My friends notice that there is something wrong.
My mum, I used to blame her a lot for not really doing much.
I spoke to my friends about it and they were very supportive.
You should really try to use the support of your friends, of maybe psychological help.
I think the biggest thing from any sort of situation like this is talking about it. I know from my own experience that talking about all of this sort of stuff, even just to yourself, like understanding it and talking to yourself in ways like writing it down, helps so much.
I think now I look back at this marriage and stuff, I think it brought me where I am right now, and I'm very glad because I managed to meet some people, very inspiring people that I think I would have never met if I wasn't going through these things.
I now am on high alert constantly when I'm out. For my own safety, I never go anywhere without ID, so that if anything happens, I can be identified.
You know, you can sit down with people and say, you know, I've experienced this, and someone can say, yeah, me too.
Next time, I will think 3 times about myself first and then about the other person, rather than putting myself all in this relationship, as we say.
Recently, a lot is happening, and a girl literally just got murdered by a police officer for walking home at night. It's more men talking about the fact that women are making up these stories, or they go on about all men and how it's not all men. Obviously it's not all men, but there's too many men.
And I think it's very important to talk about these things because I was the one who didn't realize there was something wrong until people talked to me. So I think by us talking about this abuse, it makes us feel better and makes us realize the depths of the problem.
And I think that at school they should tell you what rape is, what consent is, more than they were, because it's a very taboo subject.